the man, he's the myth, he's the legend, he's the scientist with all the answers and all the questions. It's time for another episode of Alex's Science Corner.
Thank you. Oh, please, thank you. No, please, thank you.
What is going on in the wide, wide world of science, my friend?
Okay, first story is interesting discovery about an exoplanet that's about 650 light years away. There's a term for some of these exoplanets. They're called hot Jupiters. And what it is a Jupiter-sized planet that is as close to its star as Mercury is to our star. So it's a large planet that's really, really hot. Well, they were watching one of these hot Jupiters, and then when it passes in front of its star, the light from the star passes through the atmosphere of the planet, and they can check to see what kind of elements are in that planet's atmosphere. Well, this planet is so hot that they detected gaseous metal in the atmosphere.
You didn't give us a chance to go, how hot it is.
I know.
Sorry.
We were both thinking that.
Here, hold on. Let me back up. So this planet is so hot.
How hot is it?
Okay. Great. That was worth it. It's so hot that metal becomes a gas in that temperature. They've determined that it's about 4,000 degrees centigrade, the planet, and they've detected gaseous iron and gaseous titanium in the atmosphere.
Sunscreen number 70 for that trip.
Yeah,
no,
I go
Sunscreen
up
1000.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunscreen 1000.
Yeah, that's and again, it's a very large planet. It's a Jupiter-sized planet. But the amazing thing is, like I said, that it is so hot that metal has become a gas in that environment. Because, like, for example, iron or titanium has a melting point of about 1,300 degrees centigrade. And again, this planet is about 4,000 degrees centigrade. So just like water becomes vapor at hot enough temperatures, you boil off the metal and it becomes a gas.
That must be tough to breathe.
Yeah, I'd say probably. Yeah. It's probably going to give you a little bit of lung, congestion if you breathe 4,000 degree atmosphere.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that this is the time you decided to crochet.
Well, I was trying to distract myself from interrupting Alex, which is what I do all the time. So I figured I'd pull out my crocheting.
So between interrupting me and ignoring me, the ignoring part. Okay.
No, I'm not ignoring you because I can never mind.
Because she's just about 4 feet away.
So I can't be ignored.
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot. No.
All right. Next story is about breaking spaghetti. And you asked earlier, Bobby, is it wet spaghetti or is it dry spaghetti? It's dry spaghetti we're talking about breaking.
Pre-cooked dry spaghetti.
Yeah, pre-cooked dry spaghetti. When you take a strand of spaghetti and you bend it and it snaps, it usually breaks into 3 or 4 pieces. Engineers have figured out why, and a possible thing that can prevent it from snapping into 3 or 4 pieces when you bend a dry piece of spaghetti.
Because they're not bending it in the right spot.
No. It's what's happening is when the spaghetti starts to bend, it will bend to the point where it starts creating a fissure and they'll snap. When that snap happens, it sets a shock wave through the strand of spaghetti. The shock wave goes down the strand and comes back. And when it's coming back, it hits part of the shock wave going forward. And where those two shock waves meet is when the next pieces can break off. So when you break it, it can shatter into 3 or 4 pieces.
Okay, first of all, when you're cooking spaghetti, you do not break it. You put it in whole. You make sure you've got a pot big enough to put it in whole.
I always snap it in half. And then
do you really?
Always.
Never, ever.
Never. Or you have super long strands. So you just
that's why you've got the spoon and the fork, and you twirl it on the spoon. And That's the way I was raised.
I am
eating
so
spaghetti.
glad that all the science stories, this is the one that causes the most controversy.
no,
I'm
no,
also
wait a minute.
curious. I'm also curious as to why engineers are spending
That's
time.
my next
because
question. That was
investigating
right. You know, who
Well,
the heck cares?
It's a mechanical thing. Whenever you're dealing with small items like wires and other small components, understanding this structural, I don't want to say defect, but this structural interaction, you can start to deal with other things that are similar and try to work around
How
possible
is
problems.
spaghetti a substitute for a wire or for...
There's a lot of things that engineers use that are long and thin and that can be very brittle. They go into mentioning those things, but they didn't go into more detail. But there are engineering reasons to study this. Now, the part that makes this the second part
It's
of the
called
story,
a grant.
and some engineers
And
are
a
saying they're
well-written
going, why is this
proposal.
happening? And they used high-speed cameras, and they filmed the interactions, which is where they detected these shock waves. Well, what they figured out is if you twist the strand of spaghetti at least 250 degrees rotation from one end to the other, then when you snap it, the rotation absorbs the shock wave, and so it just breaks once and doesn't cause the shock wave to... Yeah, you're not going to be able to do it with a whole handful of strands. You'd have to take one strand and twist it, and then when you bend it and it snaps, the rotation of the strand of spaghetti takes away the shock wave, or reduces the shock wave.
What I want to know is how many folks actually snap it in half as they throw it into the water.
Please don't. Please don't. Yes,
You're-
I'm curious. I'm curious too.
She's a real Italian cook, so
You
she's.
do not snap.
I wonder what
pasta.
Just Bob does.
Please call us and let us know. I wonder what he does too.
All right, Alex. Anything else to add?
And again, I'm so glad that was the story that brought the controversy.
Well, my comment about breathing the metals in the air.
Well, I'm not
that's
being
big-
controversial. I don't.
it's-
You were just being a wise guy.
That's,
That's
yeah,
all.
well, yeah.
I agree that breathing 4,000 centigrade atmosphere is going to be probably tough on your lungs.
I want to know
Yeah.
if folks out there don't. Who's? I snap the spaghetti in half and throw it into the boiling water.
I don't ever snap it in half.
Is that an Italian thing or is that just a personal thing?
I think it's an Italian thing. Well,
Okay.
I think it's an Italian thing.
I don't believe you. All right. If do you have any questions
I think
related?
it's an Italian thing. You
Okay.
can make sure
so
you got
you
a
know
pot
what?
big
At this
enough.
point, if you
It's
got any
broken
questions
down
about
to
spaghetti,
a cooking story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If you have any questions about these or anything else science related, you can call Alex right now.
and call Bobby for the cooking related questions.
Yeah, there we go. 203
837
99
24.